ladies and gentlemen, Thomas Gay is about to come on and absolutely rock your world. This dude is up to some incredible things with refer.com and teaching people how to be relationship based and the stuff he's going to teach us about, return on investment with these relationships and building a tribe. Phenomenal. Before that, let's talk about the sponsor message. If you're an entrepreneur or a visionary and you want to get your message out to more people and impact more people, send me an email, chris@beyourgps.com, or find me on Facebook and message me there. Would love to support you however I can. Maybe it's connecting you with an amazing human being like Tom or one of our other guests who can help you get your message out, or starting your own podcast, which I love to support people with. Next up is going to be our iTunes review of the week. And this week's iTunes review of the week, it's by Miss Tiffany Luva Carter. And Tiffany says this guy is on fire. Every Wednesday I tune in and watch and listen to Chris Burns live. He has the best guests and his energy is contagious. This is so helpful for me midweek when I start feeling overwhelmed. As a podcaster myself, he's one of the few people I regularly listen to. Go listen and subscribe now. Love this guy. Tiffany, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And if you want to give us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store and give us a review there. Go ahead and rate and review, subscribe, get all the latest episodes for the show there. I'm going to introduce Tom in just a second. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes because this guy is a serial entrepreneur. He's absolutely rocking it and leaving a huge impact in the world. So let's introduce Tom and then we'll bring him on the screen. Thomas Gay is the founder of the Biz Dev Pro and a lifelong serial entrepreneur. In today's setting, marketers are competing with more noise, higher costs, and more obstacles in trying to reach a decision maker and grow sales. The solution is to learn how to build your own thriving tribe and apply the proven principles of relationships and trust building to achieve the results that you want. The Biz Dev Pro is a growing community of like-minded professionals who are working together to achieve breakthrough results. Tom's most recent success is an exciting Web 2.0 technology firm called refer.com that provides a package of high-performance referral marketing tools to almost 5 million SMBs, small and medium business owners, and professional service providers where relationships are at the core of their business development success. Refer.com teaches users the keys to building trust-based referring relationships and then provides easy-to-use web and mobile software tools for personal relationship building, task management, and results tracking. And we are so blessed to have Tom with us today. Tom, are you ready to rock the house, sir?
Hey, let's go, Chris. I love it. Appreciate that nice introduction.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's great to have you here. And we've had one of your associates in the Biz Dev Pro, Mr. Andrew Hall. He's been a honored guest on our show before. He rocked it. And I'm just so grateful for our connection and what we're able to do here today because you're doing some amazing things in the world. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share with our audience, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you for those kind words, Chris. I'm just trying to pull on the oar and move the ship forward in any way I can.
That's right, man. So we're going to dive into the theme of today, which is getting paid from your story. So Tom, what does this mean for you, getting paid from your story?
Well, gosh, I think everything in life is about story. And if you properly appreciate that and build your story so that it helps other people, it supports other people, it teaches other people, then what you can do is you can create value. And in creating that value, there's all kinds of ways you get paid. And it's not always monetarily. It could be through connections, it could be introductions, it could be through a whole host of other means of tangible and intangible currency. But if you focus on story first, the benefits of telling story allow people to relate to you better and allow you to build connection, and that connection leads to all kinds of opportunities.
That's amazing. I love it. It's the personal aspect of business because anybody can go to let's say a terminal, right? A electronic device and order a DVD or order a food item. But when it comes to actual small and medium-sized business and delivering these services and these products, I think it's the relationship, it's the story, it's the connection and authenticity that really drives those sales and that commerce.
It's always the way. I've spent a number of years in a third world country.
Mm,
A different culture is another way to say it.
yeah.
And when I interact with people over there, the importance of story is so much greater than what we appreciate,
Wow.
that we're conscious of here in our culture. Because when you bring a topic to story, you're creating a reference point or connection point
Mm,
that the other person can identify with. And so I always I learned and then taught others that when we get together and begin to understand or seek to understand,
mm,
it always begins with your story. And when I hear your story first, then it's an opportunity for me to tell you my story.
mm.
And when your story and my story is joining us, then we have a chance to build a bridge to our story.
Wow.
Our story is where the magic can happen.
Wow.
That's where the synergy is awaiting.
Yeah.
And those synergies in a business setting are extraordinary because that's what leads to what we say today, tribe or thriving tribe relationship, where we're all joined together by our stories and then our shared purpose.
Yeah.
So
That's incredible, Tom. I really love this, and we're already touching on the tribe aspect, which is a big part of what you're doing today with the Biz Dev Pro and refer.com. You're doing some amazing things. So tell us a little bit more about what you're working on and what your clients come to you for, what you stand for, Tom.
well, I stand for building trusted relationships, and a tribe is an environment in which the group, the participants, the individuals are involved in relationship. And a strong tribe, or a tribe that thrives, I'll start reversing some of the words, is one where the relationships are mutual. They're directional in all directions. As we talk about tribe, we talk about thriving tribe, and the components that could best typify a thriving tribe is what we call a win-win-win set of relationships. So let's take you and I, Chris. Let's assume we're tribe members, but we serve other people in our respective businesses. And if we're going to have a thriving tribe, then I've got to win, you've got to win, and the people we serve need to win.
Yeah.
And there's a framework and a behavior that leads to that set of outcomes. If you follow those behaviors, most people will respond in an affirmative way and want to be in that type of engaged relationship. And that leads to trust, and trust leads to connecting in all kinds of ways. I received a letter just about 2 weeks ago from a friend in a market that I haven't lived in for over a year. I haven't worked with this friend for probably 6 years now. And he sent me this note, came in via email, so we use technology. It's not something that we're against. But in it, he said, Tom, you had such an impact on my business 6 years ago that I just needed to reach out to you and tell you thank you, how I miss our times not getting together to have coffee or lunch. And I want you to know, though you've moved away, you're not forgotten. Well, I tell you, and I ask anyone listening to this broadcast, if you receive that kind of letter from someone unannounced, unexpected, years later, how would that make you feel? Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of outcomes that focusing on building trusted relationships and tribe will yield. And I built methods to accomplish that back in the early days of refer.com. Those methods led to building a business from scratch, a consulting practice from scratch, Chris, that after 18 months, I had 31 active CEOs as clients of mine in my consulting practice who came to me mostly by referral, but who I taught how to do this kind of process in their life and in their business, so they were doing it with each other. So we had this organism that was vibrant, dynamic, self-sustaining, and businesses were flourishing within that group.
So good. You're touching on so many points. I love the win-win-win, which is I want to win. I want the other person who I'm doing business with to win. And I want the people who are involved in that result, in that service, in that product to also win. And everybody thrives and prospers. That's super important. And then the trusted relationships, like if you don't have that trust in that relationship, then it's purely based on a transaction. I feel like that's what way to live is that. We're here as spiritual, loving, service-based business beings to serve people and to give our best gifts in the world, and of course be compensated for the work and the love that we share with these people. And Tom, you're a shining example of that. You've built a refer.com, a platform that's helping, I heard 5 million of these small and medium business owners and service providers to help them expand their ability to connect and build those trusting relationships. And I want to go back into your journey and talk about, when did you start learning that building relationships based on trust, based on integrity, based on real communication and really caring about people, when did you discover that that was a key to your success?
Well, I'd like to tell you that I had an aha moment where I realized that, damn, this is the model, this is the way to live life. But I can't point to an individual point in time. I think it's more a case of going from unconscious competence to conscious competence at a point in time. And but what I had over the years were models called mentors, quite often, role models who would illustrate what extending yourself into helping the other person would look like. And when you imitate good role models or learn from good role models, you begin to form a world view, a life view that says, they're getting good outcomes, I'm getting good outcomes. And I had one of those epiphanies, if you will, that, when I take this is going to date me a bit, but when I take a trade magazine and tear an article out of it and attach a little note to it and send it off to somebody who I'm trying to build a relationship, in this case, an executive in that industry, who my note referenced, hey, I thought you might like to see what I just saw, and maybe it's important to your planning or your company or what you're doing, or congratulations. When I write that little handwritten note, in those days we had something called secretaries. I don't know if anyone has those anymore, but put it in the outbasket, and my wonderful assistant would put it into an envelope and send it off. That behavior created, you'd call it buzz, because people didn't do those things. And as it evolved, this was part of our market was towards the restaurant industry. And as this behavior replicated itself, we ended up working for 47 of the top 50 fast food chains in the country, who all came for the same thing. And it used to be always because we were focused on doing the best we could. And we built a pretty sizable company that ultimately we sold for a lot of money to a Fortune 500 company. But at the point of the arrow is when you do those kinds of things and you're putting yourself forward first, you're laying yourself down first, what you do is immediately separate yourself from the rest of the marketplace. And I'll never forget the time we were making a presentation. This goes back a few years, but it illustrates the point. We were making a presentation of our services to an organization everyone knows today, Popeye's Fried Chicken, restaurant chain. Okay, very popular nationwide, very big in the South. When we walked in, they were having what we call a beauty pageant to evaluate which vendors they were going to select. Now, we've been doing our TLC work with them because we do that. When we walked in to the beauty pageant and we were, let's say, scheduled to present our credentials at 10 o'clock, we showed up an hour early and our competitors got up and left. They didn't present because they knew they didn't have that kind of style glue understanding relationship. They were in to sell themselves as opposed to have shown up to serve. So, Covey wrote in his book, The 7 Habits, he wrote one of the 7 habits was seek first to understand, then to be understood. Well, this is part of the process. This is all part of the process. If I come in pitching my stuff, I likely have turned off you who might be wondering, who I am, but if I'm not interested in hearing who you are first, I'm going to miss out. Yeah. So I can tell you story after story of that kind of imprint that's led to who I am today.
That's incredible. And I want to know, how did you start to balance the service mentality? How can I serve, and keeping in touch systems and efforts and writing these notes, as well as building your own business? Like, how did it work out that when you would send a letter or a note and think of people and go the extra mile in that aspect, that it translated to business for you?
Well, I've got to tell you, you don't keep score. Throw the scorecard away, because it's not something that you're going to create a tally at the end of the day or the end of the month. Throw the scorecard away and start following the steps, the processes that execute on this style of relationship building. And when you do that, the results happen. I can share with you, and I may be skipping around a bit, but I can share with you that I've learned and proven over and over again empirically that if you take on the approach of giving first and giving again, and as you give and give and give, people, as I've said to you, or to so many, when you give and give and give, people begin to know, like, and trust you. When they trust you, the desire to give back wells up in them. That's called the power of reciprocity. It's a basic human emotion. When I give and give and give, I don't know exactly how you might reciprocate. One might be you buy my product. I'm working with a group of people here in San Diego, a new marketplace, where I've been giving and giving and giving, starting new, brand new, giving and giving. And I'm getting invited in to participate in, to speak in front of. I just had a major chamber of commerce who are trying to reframe their value proposition to become more relevant in this day and age where technology is just raced ahead of most chambers. And they've said, Tom, come on in, and we want you to lead your biweekly training and messaging to our membership, and become the facilitator of this biweekly event and they're a very significant chamber here in this geographic market area.
Wow.
So you stop keeping score. As I started to say empirically, I know that, Chris, if you or one of your subscribers will follow this process with 25 people, in 60 days, they'll be getting 8 to 10 new client leads a month, referred client leads. And the referral has a 400% greater likelihood of becoming a client than any other source of lead you might get. And we've got thousands of people who we've put through the process and supported them and trained them, sometimes cajoled them into follow the steps, follow the steps. But when they do, they get the results.
Yeah.
So we know the numbers add up to the scoreboard that you really want to see.
Yeah.
And we've seen some amazing outcomes. One financial advisor grow their portfolio in 1 year by $32 million assets under management. Now, I don't know what his share of that was, but we estimated it was at least $200,000 personal income increase for him a year. And in a marketplace where you do that year in and year out, where there's low mobility, if you manage it properly, that's probably worth millions of dollars, just that 1 year of effort
Yeah.
to that individual. So it's been fun watching people get success beyond their wildest imaginations.
It's incredible, Tom, because I think we see the benefit of putting in the energy and the effort up front and giving, because it always comes back, and it's really showing up to serve, showing up to give, and not expecting, not keeping score of the return, but just knowing that it's going to come back and having faith. And I think it's love. It's really loving people. It's showing that, hey, I care about you, and I want you to know that you're important, and the work that you're doing in the world is important as well. And I want to get into a little bit more of the specifics or practicality of it. Would the best way to learn this framework, would it be to go to refer.com? Would it be to have a conversation with you? Can you share it with us? What's the best way?
Well, I would welcome people reaching out directly to me because I'm not sure, not knowing who they are, what their needs are, and what their background is. I'm not sure the exact right approach. So throwing a solution in front of the individual without knowing who they are is first of all possibly off target.
Yeah.
And we have multiple ways to respond to them. I mean, there is a refer.com software application that they can sign up for and use. No question about that. Our newest activity with the Biz Dev Pro utilizes all the principles that the software does, but it's interesting. A lot of people don't want to use software. They're oversaturated with apps and software tools. And probably the best example is to take a look at your cell phone and ask, how many apps on my cell phone have I not opened in the last month or ever? And that's human nature.
Yeah.
So I don't present, well, I'm a techie and I use technology. I'm a voracious consumer of technology. There's nothing better than sitting down and writing a handwritten personal note, because I know I'm supposed to do it, sending it off. And when that person gets that note, they know that I really was thinking of them.
Yeah.
So, and I teach those mechanisms, those methods, one-to-one, and then I have courseware that could help with them. And within the Biz Dev Pro, teach that to our Biz Dev Pro communities that we're building.
This is gold, and I think that it's a great transition into what specifically is the Biz Dev Pro, because you came from refer.com, building that platform. It sounds like the ethos and the mentality of it you transferred over, and it might be a little bit different of a platform or a way that you're serving these small and medium business owners.
Sure. Well, it is. That's a great way to describe it, Chris. The ethos is the same, and it's like what was yesterday, today, and tomorrow is unchanging. And so the ethos is the same. The way to carry it out is different, one company to the next, one of my companies to the next. And in recognition that software is what I described a few moments ago, what we've said instead is, let's build a platform, let's build a toolbox where someone who is a professional service provider or a small, medium-sized business who has to face the marketplace every day and go find new clients understands what it takes to break through the marketplace noise and set themselves apart from the noise making out there. And to me, I've characterized the current technology environment, social media specifically, as being so noisy that it's even unsocial. Social media is a misnomer. It's been used to connect us in ways that allow us to not be connected. It's allowing us to eavesdrop without getting engaged.
Wow.
And more, there's just too many distractions that keep us from focusing on the important. So rather than try to go out and shoot the Goliaths that are out there doing this, we're saying, let's go back and let's become guerrilla marketers by teaching people how to go back into their community and build these trusted connections. We call them tribes. And if if you can look at the distinction between a network and a tribe, a network and networking is typically a place where people go to get. A tribe is where you gather people together who go to give.
Mm.
And so the sense of belonging in a network is very different than the sense of belonging in a group that's mutually committed to each other's growth and success. So with the Biz Dev Pro, we focus on what is tribe, teaching people what is tribe, how to create tribe, and how to turn it into thriving tribe by you as a member become the leader and drive that ethos into the culture of that group. And you can do it one-to-one, you can do it one to a few, or one to a whole group, depending upon how much you want to focus on. And in my case, I belong, since I'm new in the San Diego area, I've been gone from San Diego for about 18 years, 17 years. I came back and the whole lay of the land is different. But I know that here, about 60 days into working on rebuilding a community that I call mine, a tribe I call mine, I'm so far along the road on having that I can't keep up with all the opportunities to participate. But it's because I go to give, and you know, givers get invited into settings that takers or go-to-getters don't get invited. I may have digressed off of the question you asked, but the whole principle of thriving tribe is to put yourself into a position where you're committed, you understand, and then we have a platform tool that helps you to present yourself credibly into the audiences you're trying to reach. An online website, in effect, that's part of being a member of the Biz Dev Pro. And by extension, you can invite others to join your tribe and cause them to also have access to these tools. And so it's about, you know, multiplying that audience. You know, here we are just a few months into bringing our first version to the marketplace. And we're building tribe members and Biz Dev Pros all over the country. Just last week, we brought in 3 or 4 brand new members from South Africa.
Wow.
It's going to scale. It's an alternative to other digital media or social media that you might be involved with, but it's all about going local and going credible.
This is powerful. I want to know, what does the Biz Dev Pro have that, not that it's any better or worse than refer.com, but what's different about it? Is it the tribe focus? Is it the ability to bring people to a hub that is whatever the member kind of designs that hub and all the tools and resources to give to their tribe and their community?
Well, that's included in it. It is different. It's the refer.com software is a piece of software that is likened to a CRM. It tracks and measures and tells you what to do each and every week, and lets you know whether you're on track or off track. And you know, it's an extraordinary piece of software. I've had some very influential people say it. Your refer.com software makes LinkedIn and Salesforce.com look like potted plants. Okay. Well, you know, I'm humbled by it. I'm also proud enough to declare that, and I can validate who said it too. Nevertheless, but the one thing it doesn't do is work at such a local level as cause me. Let's assume I'm a sign maker. I'm a franchisee in a local market, and I want to connect with my local market, who I may see in a whole variety of ways, chamber meetings and networking meetings and other kinds of growth groups. We're focusing on how people really connect with each other, one-to-one to one. And that the Biz Dev Pro supports that very interactive, non-technology, non-platform oriented. Now, you need a platform to market yourself. You need a technology, you need a website today to be discoverable. However, the reality is far too many people don't have a website and they don't keep it current. And part of your personal toolbox when you become a Biz Dev Pro is we have a pre-built website for you that you come and populate with your data, with your background information, what your focus is, what your products are, and now you can promote that readily wherever you live digitally and be seen. But we also create an online directory, and there are so many of them out there. I don't want to say that that's the purpose, but if I'm looking for a person who's trained in credible local marketing, tribe building marketing, somewhere in the country, somewhere else in the country, as our organization grows, you'll be able to know that if I bring up Topeka, Kansas, and in my Biz Dev Pro platform, and I see there's someone by the name of Chris Burns there who's a qualified Biz Dev Pro, then I know I can work with Chris and that we're going to have the beginnings of a relationship because of our mutual commitment to tribe building. So I'm with the chief operating officer of a major East Coast home services franchise organization. They've got about 200 franchisees nationwide, and he understands relationship marketing. He's an author who has written a book on relationship marketing. He's now the CEO of this franchise firm. And we're having coffee about a month ago, and he hears the story of the Biz Dev Pro. And he said, "You mean to tell me that one of my franchisees in any market could come to you and hire one of your Biz Dev Pros and put them to work finding clients for them?" And I said, "Yes, that's part of our business model. We have an internal referral service so that if you're a Biz Dev Pro and this is a real life story, in Sedona, Arizona, or this franchisor, but in this case, a real life story in Sedona, Arizona, and we've trained you on these principles. And in this case, a client came to us, a prospective client, said, "I need someone to help me grow my client base here in Sedona, I'm willing to. I want to hire someone, but I don't want them as an employee." We provided to that woman an outsourced sales agent, our Biz Dev Pro. That Biz Dev Pro, on the day we qualified him, was handed a client that was worth $2,000 a month to him on a month-to-month contract sales basis. And that the hiring organization could look at that person's performance and say whether or not they wanted to keep them as a retained client or a retained provider. And here, 3 months into this relationship, that client has now recruited a second Biz Dev Pro in that market. So that now they have two, and their sales have gone from about $30,000 a month. They'll pass $100,000 a month here 3 months later.
Wow.
And it's all because a Biz Dev Pro is a marketplace advocate for companies that want this kind of agency or representation out in the marketplace. So as we continue to build, and we're small today, so no question about it. But what we've found is the franchisor says, "Well, I want all 200 of my reps to be able to hire your Biz Dev Pro." And maybe they'll pay them $500 a month to refer clients over to them, because the Biz Dev Pro in that market is building tribe. Tribe members need services or products or live in houses that need, in this case, home services. And so if I've got this tribe, I mean, my tribe here in Southern California, I'll guess that inside of another 60 days, I'll have 50 people who I can refer to you if you've got a product that they need and you want to reach them. And the question is, what would it be worth? Whether you're selling insurance or whether you're doing car repairs or whether you're doing any other kind of profession. And it's just it's a component of the model that isn't done within the refer environment. Refer is about me learning and doing, and the Biz Dev Pro is about me learning, using it every day with my walk on the street, and then qualifying myself to do it for others in my tribe and people who want to reach my tribe.
So would you say that it's teaching people those skills and abilities to be able to refer effectively, and when someone becomes a Biz Dev Pro, then the people who say, hey, I want some, for example, I live in Vegas, and they say, hey, Chris is doing some awesome networking and tribe building in Vegas, and I think he's connected to some great people who could, let's say, use home services. I want him to be my Biz Dev Pro, and I'll pay a monthly retainer so that he can refer his community and tribe to our services because they need it. It's an integrity, and it's a great offer. It's a great opportunity.
Yep. You've got it, Chris. And if I don't deliver, you don't have the problems. If I'm not good at it, you don't have the problems of having hired an employee, having trained an employee, paying the taxes and the workers' comp and all those things on that employee. If I perform, you keep me. If I perform in an extraordinary way and you want me to do more for you, you increase the level of your retainer with me.
Yeah.
And all of that's automated in our platform.
That's awesome.
So Biz Dev Pro can come in and meet with you and say, okay, Chris, I think we can work together. Here we have 6 levels. You can start out paying me. I'll go to work for you. Choose the level you'd like me to commit to. But you could start at $99 a month and go to $2,000. Let's start at a place you're comfortable with. Let me see what I can do, and if it's then worth more to you than what you're paying me, pay me more.
Yeah.
And so you perform and you earn.
Wow, that's awesome. And so what was it that inspired this business model of creating certified Biz Dev Pros to go out there and serve in a bigger way and be those connectors to these valuable products and services?
Well, it all started prior to my moving to San Diego, where I was in Boise, Idaho. That's where Refer was located. And together with a team member, a friend of mine in Boise, we started creating a community we call the Local Impact Zone. The acronym for that is LIZ, L-I-Z, easier to say than Local Impact Zone. But it was all built around the principles that we're going to get a group of people together, what you might commonly call a networking meeting. Excuse me. And we're going to gather them together and enable them to network, and then create a learning environment in which we're going to teach them different business and sales trust building principles. So with the teaching part of it, we immediately separated ourselves from every other networking organization you can imagine. You come in and I'm going to teach you on seek first to understand, then to be understood. Or what does sharpening the saw look like? Or it's Q3 2019 coming up. Let's take a look at your KPIs and where you stand. So it was very intensive business training. As a guy who's coached CEOs and built some pretty sizable companies, I kind of know this stuff and have all the tools. So we got together and we teamed up and we found a restaurant facility that said you can use our facility to gather, and started this very unusual networking environment. And after a few weeks, a buzz started. And for 3 years, we led this group, the Liz meeting, every Monday morning at 8 o'clock at this Chick-fil-A restaurant. We had 120 to 140 people show up to be in community, in tribe with each other. And we didn't call it that then, but they came together. There was no sales pitches. No, you got 2 minutes to get up and tell your story, and you go around the room and say, anybody got a deal for me? None of that. Zero. Totally contradictory to, the raft of networking you came, you had a time of networking, a social connecting, and then we taught you principles and best practices and business elements, and we'd go through all kinds of different things that most small business people don't have access to. It was totally free, by the way. There's no cost.
No.
And you want to talk about the drumbeat that started in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Well, as that story evolved and that process evolved, we brought that into a Chick-fil-A restaurant. As I said, it was a brand new location. And that location had zero traffic on at breakfast times. And we turned that into the #1 new store breakfast traffic revenue in the country. Okay. To the point where Chick-fil-A came and said, "Can you do this in our other stores?"
Wow.
I was involved with refer.com, and my friend, team member, today my partner in the Biz Dev Pro, was involved in some other things. We didn't have the space for that. But we've sifted through our experience and brought through the essence of what made that good and said, we can do that. And as a result, we now have the Biz Dev Pro starting to scale. One of the beautiful things about the Biz Dev Pro now is we're bringing in experts in various fields of endeavor who are speakers, authors. They have a following, and we bring to them an opportunity to deliver their content, let's call it, their message, to the Biz Dev Pro, where it's congruent with our values and message. And now the organism called the Biz Dev Pro is starting to expand because each of these experts we call faculty now are serving each other's audiences, and it's starting to create synergies and after sale income opportunities for them all, because they can also grow their income through what they do working with us. So it's a movement, and it's a little bit early to be stating that it's going to be a marketplace movement that changes the way business is done. But we have our ideas in that respect.
That's right. That's right. I'm sure as a CEO, you know the power of the vision, setting and casting the vision and having people see what's possible. It may not seem like what's the word I'm looking for? It may not seem quote unquote realistic, or we don't know how we'll get there, but that's the vision, and we'll do what it takes as long as it takes, continuing to innovate and evolve till we get there.
Absolutely. And if you stay, and we do have that vision, by the way, so it is, without a vision, you perish. Yeah. So we have the vision, and we hold ourselves accountable to it. And obviously take a dose of reality along the way, because you don't get there without putting the building blocks together. Nevertheless, this isn't about ourselves so much. This is about creating an impact that changes lives, changes communities, and changes the whole culture. I often reference when I talk of the book Megatrends, written back in the middle 80s. And the author of that book depicted 5 or 6 trends that this is just at the advent of the personal computer. And he said, in order to be a successful company over time, you're going to have to adapt these 5 mega trends to be viable. And one of his trends, in fact, it was listed as number 2 in his book, was the requirement that if you're going to be viable in the longer term with where technology is going, you're going to have to find a way to merge high technology and high touch together. Human interaction along with the technology. And that's what Refer is about, but even more so the Biz Dev Pro is about. It's high touch and high tech in harmony, working together to create the relational capital that causes people wanting to work together and prosper together. And you don't get any of that high tech, high touch out of most social channels that are involved today. You certainly won't see it in Facebook. I don't want to take swings at anybody, but it's certainly not there.
Right. Right. And it's so interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, especially coaches, personal life coaches and health coaches, coaches are building their business on Facebook. Is there anything else that you can recommend that they might be doing wrong on this platform, or what they can do differently to be able to be more effective at growing their business, especially the coaches and consultants?
Well, yeah, I think there's a couple of things that stand out as, to me, low hanging fruit.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty good at technology. So I use digital marketing and Facebook marketing, all those tools,
Yeah.
because the first thing you have to do is to create an awareness, as we like to say, ping the marketplace to see who's awake.
Yep.
And we've coined a term we call digital slumber. Digital slumber means you've gone to sleep because you're not responsive to a digital tweak.
Right.
Recently sent 100 in-mail messages out. They now call it messaging in LinkedIn, and got like 2 or 3 responses. I forget, that's close enough. So the other 97 people are caught in digital slumber. And maybe it's something we've all caused by how much noise is being thrown at each other. So the low-hanging fruit, as I like to say, the client you bring in via Facebook has a digital Rolodex awaiting you. I'm holding up my iPhone so everyone can see. Is holding up a digital Rolodex. And if you can build a relationship with them one-to-one, and they happen to know 10 people you might want to meet, you're not going to get that connection through Facebook. You're not going to get them to open it up through digital marketing. The only way I'm going to get you to open up your digital Rolodex and let me in is if I have a trusted relationship with you and you have been receiving something of quality from me that makes you feel open to reciprocating. I can tell you, just holding this up as an example, I sat down with a lawyer in Boise a few years back. This lawyer was struggling finding clients, not good at selling. Wonderful man, a friend, turned him into a friend, parenthetically. I taught him the principles of trust-based marketing, the Biz Dev Pro model. Wasn't labeled that then. And I said, Chris, let's take a couple minutes. I know you, and by now this was a new relationship, but the trust was open and building. I said, let's go through and look at my connections here in Boise. And you let me know whether there's someone here you'd like to meet that I could introduce you to. So now, when's the last time someone did that for you? And that's not a question. That's a question for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, if someone did that for you, how would you feel about that someone?
Well, so grateful. Like you really care.
Well, your digitally connected clients, if you're a fitness coach, know more people than you could possibly ever serve already.
Yeah.
Because birds of a feather flock together, as I like to say. So people concerned with fitness hang out with people who are concerned with fitness. Or people who buy certain products hang out with people who buy those products. If you could only build a trusted relationship, so it means bridging from pinging the marketplace to building a true, meaningful relationship. Now that lawyer, I'm sorry if I'm dominating the conversation.
This is great. I love it. Keep going.
Okay, that lawyer took my recommendations and my training, and he couldn't afford to pay me for my services. Okay, so I said, I'm going to work with you, Chris, because we have a relationship. This was about February. In early June of that same year, I'm at home on a Friday night, and in the mail comes to me a greeting card written out to me. I taught him how to send out personal notes too. A greeting card. And I opened it up, and it said, Tom, I can't tell you how much impact you've had on my practice. Since I've started following the rules, the steps, I've had to hire 3 people
Wow.
to handle the work, assistants and legal aid, lawyer, whatever the second positions are. And I can't tell you how much you've changed the trajectory of my practice. And inside of that was a check, okay, to say thank you for what he would have paid me if he had had the money earlier. So I wasn't expecting any of that. I was knocked over because I didn't have it. Well, more valuable than that was the fact that he introduced me to a manufacturer who badly needed an interim CEO. And I went in there on a retainer basis and served their needs for about a year with a very nice income from that, several $1,000s a month. He introduced me to one of his clients, a manufacturer of technology equipment. And that manufacturer at first turned into a $250,000 a year contract that lasted for 3 years, about $750,000. And at the end, they were paying me a $20,000 a month retainer just to be available for their needs as they come up. Wow. And it all came from an introduction. All came from a give. And those are extraordinary examples in both cases. But that same set of principles and practices applied within a Biz Dev Pro yielded a new client to me. This new client was paying about $1,000 a month for my coaching. However, that client came from not one referral. It came from 3 other clients referring him to me in the same month. Okay, unknown to me. Now, I taught them how to refer, so they had to come and tell me that they've just introduced so-and-so to me. Independently, 3 of my clients introduced that same company, the CEO of it, to me and said, you got to come and talk to Tom because Tom's got something for you, whatever they said. I loved it. Our initial meeting was about 10 minutes in length, and it was, how do we get started? Wow. There was no selling. There was I did no discovery. The other guys did the discovery for me, in effect. And it was just, okay, let's get a calendar together and we'll start here. And that's the way it happens. I run into so many coaches and consultants and people who are selling a professional service who just absolutely struggle with getting their next client. And they're caught in a trap between delivery and developing new clients. And it's a vicious cycle, and that's so easy to overcome. So easy. I've seen some of the most unlikely salespeople. Oh man, I've got more stories for you, Chris. Unlikely salespeople. To me, the most unlikely salesperson is an accountant because they don't like sales. They don't have a background in sales. They're not exposed to sales. So I came across this gentleman. I don't remember how he met me, probably referred to me. He had been a CFO for 30 years. His company was acquired. He was replaced by the acquiring company's financial staff. And he went out and signed up to be part of a contract CFO organization, rent a CFO, part-time CFO. And he was 6 months into his new business, and he had 0 clients. And he was very introverted, wonderful man, very introverted. And he said, I don't know what to do. Did I make a mistake? And I said, well, let's start working. So we started working, myself, one-on-one with him. He had his first 2 clients within 60 days, following relationship building principles. I continued to coach him. By the end of 6 months, he had 8 contract CFO engagements, and he was fully booked. He was making, at that time, I'm going to estimate about $15,000 a month in terms of total billings, and had a waiting list. Now, the success with him led to our doing this work for over the next 2 years with another 70 of the same types of people in his industry. Wow. And in that industry, success is almost 100% assured because financial advisors and CFOs and accountants are accustomed to following the rules because they live in a rule-based environment.
Totally.
So I said, here's the rules. He followed them. He won. So,
amazing.
There's so much fun celebrating people's success.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible, Tom. I love this. And if we were to wrap this amazing conversation up with a final takeaway, final thing you want people to receive and take action on, what is that?
Well, from a give point of view, here's a secret. Okay, I have a one-pager that I could share with people on this, but here's a secret that somebody can do. If anyone does it, I'd love for you to let me know the results. Okay. Go into your contact list. Find 10 people. Find 10 people who you know, but you haven't been in touch with for a while. A couple months, maybe longer. And you think that if you could connect relationally, there could be something that could be built from that. And I want you to take those 10 people, and I want you to send them a text message. And I want you to tell them how much you've been thinking about them recently and how much you appreciate who they are and what they mean to you. Sit down and do that. Don't take more than 20 minutes. Just do it and stand back and watch the results. Now, if you stop there, that's your fault. You do those 10, make those 10 outreaches. We call that the appreciation challenge. And when you simply give appreciation, the people you give it to are totally surprised. And inside of that, they'll come back and thank you. And now you have an opportunity to rekindle a dialogue that maybe you should never have let go.
That's so actionable. I love it. This is great, Tom. So if you're listening or watching right now, if you're listening to the podcast especially, take a screenshot, tag me, and let me know that you're taking on the appreciation challenge. This is gold. And also contact Tom. Let him know that you've taken this on. Tom, how do they contact you? How do they get in touch with you, man?
Well, I answer emails, by the way, so I don't go to digital slumber on anyone. Okay. Tom at thebizdevpro.com.
Beautiful.
Just drop a note off to me, Tom at thebizdevpro.com, and let's just connect, talk, and see what might be on your mind and helpful to you. And I can send you resources, or we could even build on that.
Tom, you're doing amazing work in the world. I so appreciate you and what you stand for, these platforms that you're building, these tribes that you're building, and teaching people. You're giving people the tools, the keys to the kingdom to build their tribes and make a huge impact, create massive amounts of goodwill in their communities, as well as abundance and prosperity for themselves, for their families, and for their gifts that they're giving to the world. I love what you're doing, man. It's incredible.
Thank you, Chris. You honor me, and I appreciate you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you. Have a great day. We'll see you soon, okay?
Okay, you take care.
All right. Bye-bye.